Hi, my name is Rebecca, and today I'm going to be retelling the story of the Country Bunny and the Little Gold Shoe. And I know this story is a little longer than most, but I chose it because it features a very strong female lead, and it also emphasizes characteristics that I think are important for children. Emphasizes things like being kind and being wise. So without further ado, the Country Bunny. Hi, boys and girls. Today I have a very special story to read to you. It's called The Country Bunny and the Little Gold Shoe. Now, I am sure that all of you have heard of the Easter Bunny, right? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, now, did you know that there's not just one Easter Bunny? That there are 5 Easter Bunnies? Yeah, crazy, right? Now, these 5 Easter Bunnies, they have to be the 5 kindest and swiftest and wisest Easter bunnies in the entire world, because between sunset on Easter Eve and dawn on Easter morning, they do more work than most rabbits do in an entire year. Now, when one of the Easter bunnies grows old and they can no longer run fast, there is an old, wise, and kind grandfather bunny who lives at the Palace of the Easter Eggs. And he calls all the bunnies in the entire world together to select the very best one to take that Easter bunny's place. Now, quite often, a mother bunny will say to her child, she'll say, now, if you learn to be wise and kind and swift, someday you may grow up to be one of the Easter bunnies. And all of the babies try their very best so that they can grow up and go work for Grandfather Bunny at the Palace of the Easter Eggs. And naturally, there was one little country bunny. She had brown fur and a little cotton ball of a tail. She said, someday I'm going to grow up and be an Easter bunny. You wait and see. And she told this to the tall, big white bunnies who lived in fine houses and the jackrabbits who had long legs and could run so fast. And do you know that they laughed at little Cottontail? And you know what they said to her? They said, go back to the country and eat a carrot. But she said, hey, you wait and see. Wait and see. The little girl Cottontail, she grew up and she became a young lady Cottontail. And before she knew it, and to her surprise, there were 21 cottontail babies she had to take care of. And when the big white rabbits and the jacks with long legs heard, they laughed and they laughed, and they weren't very nice to her. And they said, what did we tell you? Only a country rabbit would go and have all those babies. Now go take care of them and leave Easter eggs to great big men bunnies like us. And, they went away liking themselves very much. So Cottontail stopped thinking about hopping all over the world with lovely eggs for boys and girls, and she took care of her babies. She was a good mama. So one day when her children stopped being babies and they were little girl and boy bunnies, she called to them and she said, you know what? Now we're going to have some fun. She taught her 21 babies to take care of the house. She taught 2 of them to sweep. She taught 2 of them to make the beds. She taught 2 of them to cook in the kitchen, and another 2 to clean up in the kitchen. She taught 2 to wash all the clothes, and another 2 to mend all the clothes, did all the sewing and the mending. She even had so many bunnies, she taught 2 of them to sing, and 2 of them to dance, so that all the other bunnies that were working could be entertained and be happy while they worked. She taught 2 to dig in the garden and take care of the garden, and she taught even 2 of them to paint, to make the house pretty, to put stuff on the walls. Now, she had one odd man bunny out, and he was feeling pretty lonesome and sad. So, Mother Cottontail says to him, you are the most polite of all my children, so I'm going to make you keeper of my chair. And whenever I come to dinner, you shall politely seat me at the table. Then one day, when the rabbits were half grown up, she heard a great talk among the woods of the rabbits, and she said, what's going on? And they asked her, haven't you heard? One of the 5 Easter bunnies has grown too slow, so we're going to go to the Palace of the Easter Eggs. So she gathered up her 21 babies, and they all went to watch the fun. But, she was a little sad because she thought that now she was nothing but an old mother bunny and could only look on, and that some big, handsome white rabbit or long-legged jack would be chosen. So when they came to the Palace of the Easter Eggs, everybody was there gathered on the lawn. And the ones that hoped to be the Easter bunnies, they all stood together. And everybody was looking at them, clapping their little paws for them. So then the big front doors of the palace opened, and out hops who? That's right. Old, kind, wise grandfather bunny. And he told the biggest and the biggest of the bunnies and the ones with the longest legs to show him what you got. Show me what you got. So they jumped and ran and showed them their pretty white fur, and they were all very fast and all very clever. But Grandfather Bunny didn't choose one of them. He said to them, "You're pretty and you're fast, but you have not shown me that you are either kind or wise." So then his kind eyes looked among the crowd, and they finally saw who? Mother Cottontail, that's right. And she stood with her children around her. He called her up to come up to the palace steps. So she took her 21 children, and they went up and stood before him. That Grandfather Bunny was so nice that when he spoke to her, she was not even scared one bit. And he says to her, "You have such a large family, my dear, and I suppose that they take up all of your time." She said, "Well, when they were babies, that was true. But now they're so well trained, they do most of the work for me." And he said, "You must be very wise to train so many children so well. But do they always look so happy? And do they always hold their ears up so prettily?" "Indeed they do," she said. "We never have a tear or a crossword in our little country cottage, and if I do say so myself, they do carry their ears better than most bunnies." "Then you must be very kind to have such a happy home. It's too bad that you have had no time to run and grow swift, because I might have made you my 5th Easter bunny." So Cottontail laughed, and she whispered to her bunnies, and everyone that was there turned to watch and see what was going to happen. So Grandfather leaned forward to watch as well, and suddenly all 21 of her children raced away. And Cottontail dashed after them, and in no time at all, she had all of her bunnies back in line in front of the palace steps. So the wise, old, kind Grandfather Bunny said, "I see that you are swift also. Now it's too bad that you can't go carry my eggs, because you'll have to stay home and take care of your children." Cottontail laughed again. She said to him, "You know what? They'll take better care of the house than I will." So she told him about how she trained them to do all of the chores, sweeping and taking care of the kitchen and making the beds, all of the chores. So they'll take care of the house until I come home. "So you have proved yourself," Grandfather says, "to not only be wise and kind and swift, but also very clever. So come to the palace tomorrow, because that's Easter Eve, and you're going to be my 5th Easter bunny." So she's so excited. She's so excited. This is what she wanted. She goes to the Easter bunny, or to the palace of the Easter eggs the next morning. She's in her funny country clothes, but you know what? None of the other Easter bunnies laughed, because they were wise and kind, and they knew better. They showed her all over the palace, and they showed her all of the pretty eggs, all of the sparkling ones, the chocolate and the marshmallow ones, and there were eggs for all of the children around the world. So, as soon as it was dark enough, Grandfather Bunny gave the go-ahead, and they all started working. It was very hard work, and I tell you what, Cottontail was tired. She was very tired, and she was thinking, "Wow, I can't wait to go home and take the little basket that was set aside for me to go home to my own children." And just then, the old, wise, kind grandfather called her to him. So she went, and she saw he was holding the loveliest egg she had ever seen, and it glittered like a diamond in the light of the house. So he says, "Peek through and see what you shall see." So she peeked through, and you know what she saw? She saw a beautiful scene with a sleigh and a lake and with people skating on the ice. And he said, "Because you have such a loving heart for children, I'm going to give you the best, but the hardest trip of all. You have to go over 2 rivers, you have to go over 3 mountains, and once you get to the highest peak, you'll see the cottage where a little boy lives. He's lived there for a year and has been sick. And he's been so brave. He has not once complained or cried. But he's at the top of the mountain, and there's ice on top of that mountain. It's going to be hard to climb. But I tell you, if you get there, you will give more happiness than any other Easter bunny." Determined, Cottontail picked up the egg very gently and went hopping away on her journey. She crossed the rivers, she climbed the mountains, and she got to the bottom of the tallest peak. She was tired, but she knew she had to go and give the egg to the little boy to make him happy. So she started going up the mountain, and she got really close. She got to where the ice was, and she got really close. She could see the cottage in the distance. Something bad happened. She slipped, and she fell all the way back down the mountain. She fell so far down the mountain that it was warm again, and leaves on the trees were starting to bloom for Easter. And she hurt her leg. But she saw in the distance that the sun was about to rise, and she knew she had to go give that egg to the little boy. But she couldn't get up because her leg hurt too much. So she tried to rise again, and just then she felt something on her shoulder. And you know who it was? It was Grandfather Bunny. And do you know what he said? He said, "You are not only wise and kind and swift, but you are also the bravest of all the bunnies. And I shall make you my very own gold shoe Easter bunny." So he reached over, and she saw that he was holding a tiny pair of gold shoes in his hand. He bent down and put them on her feet, and all of the pain left her leg. So she stood up, picked up the precious egg, and before she knew what was happening, she felt a sudden motion, and she was flying up over the pasture, up the mountain, further than she could have ever imagined. And she landed, and she could see it. She looked back, and she had gone just with one jump farther than she could have ever imagined. She took one more jump, and she was at the cottage door. Quickly, she went through the tiny crack that the family had left open, hoping that an Easter bunny would come and visit. She put the egg in the hand of the boy, and he was happy. Now, just as the Easter morning sun rose over the edge of the world, she jumped quickly back to the palace. She got her little basket and headed home. And when she got home, she found that everything was taken care of. Everything was in order. And 21 of her babies were all sound asleep in their beds. And do you know that the little house of Mother Cottontail can always be told in the homes of other bunnies? Because in a special place on the wall, on a very special hook, hangs a pair of very tiny little gold shoes that helped Mother Cottontail achieve her goals. The end. Thank you for listening.